Hey you guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Competitive Corner. Today we're going to be spotlighting Shuckle, which is going to be kind of cool, and let's just get right into it. So, to start off with, Shuckle is obviously a bug rock type Pokemon, and the draw to Shuckle is really its defense and special defense. As you can see, they're pretty much maxed out. Outside of Megas, mainly Mega Steelix and Mega Aggron, Shuckle has the highest base defense in the entire game, and under all conditions, Shuckle has the highest special defense in the game. Unfortunately, he does come with some really bad stats. We've got 20 base HP, 10 attack, 10 special attack, and 5 speed. So not only are you not going to be doing any damage, you're really not going to be outspeeding anything. So Shuckle really does work perfectly under Trick Room. But yeah, so with the bug rock type, he's damaged normally by pretty much the entire game. He's weak to rock, steel, and water, and unfortunately only really resistant to normal and poison. So you might ask yourself, why would I want to use Shuckle? Well, I ask myself that sometimes too. I mean, in reality, Shuckle's really just a gimmick Pokemon. There are a few sets that could work if you build a team around it, and we'll get into that. So let's show you probably the most effective set, or at least the most gimmicky effective set, if that makes sense. There we go. Alright, so I'm gonna hit play on this video. This is from, I think, last week. So this is with my Shuckle team. So basically the set that I used here was a relaxed Shuckle with 252 HP, 228 defense, and 28 special defense. Focuses a lot on physical defense, not because this is a physical metagame, which it is, but it's mainly focused on physical because the Shuckle I ran in a sand team. So really, if you want to use Shuckle, it's kind of up to you to what you want to run it with. If you're running it with sand, I'd go as physical as you can, because sand will pretty much just boost your special defense anyway. But if you're, lacking in the special defense department, I'd go for this. We'll get into some calculations, of course, but just know that I do think this set's probably the best, sorry about that, the best spread in general. So the moves I run and that I think are the best are Rest, Toxic, Shell Smash, and Infestation. You're going to be running that with Contrary, and you're going to be running that with Binding Band. So Contrary takes your Shell Smash, and Shell Smash lowers your defenses and raises your attack, but even with base 10 attack and special attack, even if you get that to +6, you're really not going to be doing very much anyway. So Contrary just lowers your attack. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be doing much damage, and raises your defenses. So now you're just super unbreakable, which is great, which is fantastic. What's good about that is that Infestation does % health damage. Toxic does % health damage. So you really don't have to worry about anything. And I brought up, you're not going to see it on your screen, but on my screen I wrote an article about this specific Shuckle set. When was it? Last year, July 18th. And basically what this set aims to do is knock out the opposing Pokemon with within 4 turns. Granted, this set doesn't do very good against steel types or poison types because you can't poison them, but so Binding Band increases the damage that Infestation does per turn to about 17%. That's a lot of damage. Now, it only lasts 4 to 5 turns, so you have to be quick with that. So that's why this set really works. So turn 1, you go for Infestation. It does 17% damage. Alright, they have 83% health left. Now, things like leftovers and stuff can work against this, so it will take probably around a few more turns if they have leftovers or Citrus Berry, but you understand the gist. Turn 2, you do 17% with Infestation again, and you poison them this turn, so now they have another 6%, so now they're down to 60%. 60. I know that sounded like 16 for a second. So turn 3, you don't really have to do anything anymore. You can just set up, you can rest, whatever. They're pretty good now. So you're doing 17% again with Infestation, 12% with Toxic this time. So now they're down to 31%. And then turn 4, Toxic ramps up to 19%. So now, with the 17%, your opponent actually has negative 5% HP. So without Leftovers or Citrus Berry, you pretty much can KO every single Pokemon in the game within 4 turns. And for something that only has base 10 attack, that's really not bad at all. Now, obviously, things like Leftovers, Citrus Berry, Poison types, and Steel types make that a little bit harder. But again, you know, this is a VGC format, so you do have a partner, so it does work in general. And as you can see from the video playing right now, it really does work. If you can set it up, you're pretty much golden. And the cool thing about Shuckle is people don't really think it's a threat, so they let you set up. Now, in the highlight section, I said Power Trick is another option. It's not. I misread that. I'm gonna do something real quick. Ignore what you just saw. It should be Power Split, not Power Trick, because Power Split evens your attack out with the target. So that's pretty good. The only thing that I don't like about this, and I didn't realize this at first when I was using Power Split on Shuckle, was that Power Split actually doesn't take into effect stages of attack that you're in. So if you're at -6 special attack and attack, it doesn't take that into consideration. It just takes base stats. So while base 10 is really low, and if you split that with something like base 100, you're gonna be in pretty good spot, because it averages it out. So it's like, you know, 110, and then you divide that by 2, and then I think that's about 55 base attack. While that's good and all, I think you lose a lot by ditching Toxic, because without Toxic, you're really not going to be doing a lot of damage. You get 4 turns of 17%, and then you have to redo it. And sometimes I find that at that point, when they're low, they will go out of their way to attack you. So you really do want that Toxic, because even if Infestation ends before they die and they switch out, they still have that poison when they come back in. So yeah, and like I said, you know, EVs and Natures can be swapped around, whatever you really need. I do highly suggest 252 HP. You really want to max that out, because he doesn't have a lot, and the defenses are so high already that you really don't need to max them out. I do personally think this is the best spread, especially since VGC is very, 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 very physically intensive. There's a lot of physical Pokemon in the format. So it's definitely something that I suggest, and especially if you're running it Sand, you know, I mean, something like Tyranitar is also weak to Steel types, so it's really, you know, you're not really going to be able to get away with much, but if you can get Sand going, you're in a good position. So looking at the calculations, a max attack Rampardos with Life Orb, Sheer Force is the only thing in the game that can one-shot this Shuckle. And that accounts for everything. Mega Blastoise, Hydro Pump, 2-hit KO. Mega Gyarados, Waterfall, 2-hit KO. Arceus Rock Judgment with max special attack and the Stone Plate, 2-hit KO. Life Orb, Aegislash, as you can see in the calculation, Flash Cannon, 2-hit KO. It's just really nuts that barely anything in this game can actually one-shot this thing. So that it just, like, even if you I mean, I wouldn't recommend setting up against a Greninja or a Mega Blastoise or an Aegislash. If you already have Shell Smash boosts up, you're pretty solid. You do have to watch out for crits. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with battle armor, but then I guess, you know, that would sort of go against the whole, that would be contrary to contrary. So, you know, it's kind of a give or take. You do kind of die to crits if they're super effective, but at the same time, you can take pretty much every attack in the game. So that's probably the best set, because it has a lot of KOing potential. It's not, you know, a super slow set. It's not dead weight if it's taunted, because the Infestation still works. That's why I like running it with an Aromatisse, because it is taunt bait, and Aromatisse protects that, so that's a really good combo for that. But moving to the last set, because there's really not much you can do with Shuckle. A kind of utility set. So again, the EV spread is really up to you. It's what you need on your team. Again, I'm going to reiterate that I think this spread is probably the better of the choices because, again, it's a very physical metagame. And there's not a single special attack that can one-shot you regardless, even without being invested in special attack. So it's special defense. So it really doesn't matter to invest, and since there's a lot more physical attacking Pokemon, there's always that. So this set really aims to just help your team get further. So you've got Helping Hand, Safeguard, Encore, and Infestation. It's kind of self-explanatory. Obviously, Encore is not going to be super useful if you're not in Trick Room. But again, I don't really see why you wouldn't run this in Trick Room. I know Helping Hand has priority, but whatever. I kept Infestation around. The different item though is Grip Claw. So Contrary and Grip Claw. You know, since you're not really boosting, you don't need Contrary, so Gluttony is another option. I don't really think Sturdy is really useful since only one Pokemon in the entire game can one-shot you. That's legal. Obviously, Legendary is excluded. So Sturdy's really not super useful on Shuckle. So Gluttony's kind of nice if you're going to be running it with Citrus Berry. You get to half health with like one of the super effective hits. You get that Citrus Berry, you can probably survive another hit, so it turns into a 3-hit KO. So that's actually kind of nice. Now, Grip Claw extends Infestation to work to trap for a maximum of 7 turns and a minimum of 7 turns. So it's always gonna trap for 7 turns, and that's kind of why the Shuckle would be good at utility. You can trap things in if they switch in, and you wanna, you switch in on an immunity. You know you're gonna be switching in. Like, say someone goes for a Thunderbolt, you switch into your just pretend we have a Marowak and they don't have any answer to Marowak on the field. You trap that electric type, and now you could just destroy it. You can encore, you trap it, you encore it, and then you go to town with Marowak. So it's definitely kind of the purpose of this Shuckle set. You can go Citrus Berry, like I said, with Gluttony. Contrary, again, really not super useful. In fact, I wouldn't suggest it if you're going utility, especially if you're running in Trick Room and for some reason they have Sticky Web up. You don't want to speed yourself up. But Grip Claw is an option, Citrus Berry is an option. As for some extra options for the set, you've got Power Split, which if you do it on your opponent, they'll, like I said before, you'll average the attack. So if you're 10 to their 100, their 100 base attack now becomes base 55. That's kind of crazy. You do Guard Split, which is actually not a bad situation. I've seen people use that combination with Chansey. Chansey goes for whatever move, maybe Minimize. I don't know. I'm not gonna promote that. But and then Shuckle goes for Guard Split. So now you have Chansey with whatever the Guard Split numbers come out to be, because I don't know the numbers offhand. Like it's 230 plus 5, and then you divide that by 2. Now Chansey has that as her defense. With the HP, so that's a possibility if you want to do that. Knockoff, again, it does get knockoff, which is kind of useful. I'm not a big fan of just running knockoff as a utility on a utility Pokemon because it doesn't do much damage, and while you get rid of their item, most Pokemon can work without their item, and you can't knock off Megas, so there's really oh god, let's try that again. There's really, I personally see no purpose in running knockoff, but I mean, if you need something to knock off items, there it is. Gastro Acid is another option because it gets rid of the opponent's ability, and we know there's a lot of Mega Pokemon out there nowadays that rely heavily on their abilities. So that's a really good thing. You can even, you can't, unfortunately, I don't think you can get rid of Aegislash's stance change, but if you can, that's a really solid way of beating Aegislash. They go for attack, because they'll be faster than you. You burn their ability, now they're stuck in Blade form for the entire game. But again, I don't think you can do that. I wish you could. There has to be, I've only tried with Worry Seed. So that might be different with Gastro Acid, because I think, if I remember correctly, Gastro Acid doesn't change its ability, it just suppresses the ability. Could be wrong, don't quote me on that, but let's hope I'm right, because that would be so cool. But yeah, so Shuckle in general, not the greatest Pokemon. It doesn't necessarily need a lot of support to work because it's super resistant. It has a lot of defenses on it, but then again, a lot of its weaknesses are pretty common in the metagame right now. There's a lot of rock, there's a lot of water, so it's kind of up in the air. If you need a rock type, I wouldn't necessarily suggest Shuckle, but like I said, he does have a lot of KOing potential with the set. I mean, just look at that. 4 turns against anything that's not steel type, poison type, or with leftovers and citrus berries. So if you can find a wall, like if you can find a Chansey, you can probably beat the Chansey very easily. So that's kind of really nice to shred things like that. But all in all, Shuckle's a great Pokemon. I really like it. Has a lot of potential, but not a lot of different uses. You've got setup and you've got utility, and I think that's really about it. You can't really go full offensive with him because look at those base stats. You only got 10. 10 attack, 10 special attack. I mean, you're not going to be doing damage with that. That's why Infestation is the go-to move, and I'm glad that they introduced that move. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Leave a comment down below about what Pokemon I should do next. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Peace.